I started thinking that my village grandmother was more intelligent than my Harvard professors and my UNESCO colleagues. Action. The system is not broken, it's doing what it was designed to do. The garlic? Jadu Kichapi for your partner. Namaste oi.
Namaste oi. Namaste oi.
Namaste oi, Zuzu.
Namaste oi, Manish. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
In this kitchen.
In this
At
beautiful
Sasso's Inn.
kitchen.
Yeah, do you like it?
Yeah, I've been enjoying cooking so much here. It's really beautiful place.
Did you imagine in your life that one day you are coming to Brazil to be in a kitchen, teaching people how to change their lives cooking?
No, I never imagined that. I never imagined it. So it's great fun. It's been really great to share food, learn about different Brazilian recipes, particularly all these nuts, baru nuts, and farofa, and fruits to use. And so I've been enjoying doing some fusion.
Well, how it started? One day, suddenly you are in the world, live your life, but then suddenly comes something in your life that make it as a turning point. What was that?
Turning point in my life, I think, well, there are many turning points, but one, the big turning points came when I started connecting the dots, different experiences, and trying to see what was going on and how this larger system is working. I really felt that, I tried for many years to try to fix it, improve it, try to make it better, the system, but then I started understanding, after being in several different places of power in the world, that the system actually can't be fixed. And the turning point was really strong. I had a very deep sense of disillusionment and despair. Like, what's going on in the world? The people we thought are going to fix it don't really want to fix it, and the system is actually moving on its own in the wrong direction. And we need to really, even the people who are winning in that system are not happy with it really. So we really need a whole different way of seeing and doing things.
Manish, ele estudou nas melhores universidades dos Estados Unidos, trabalhou em organizações, instituições financeiras, em agências da ONU, como Unicef, e um belo dia ele resolveu que nada disso bastava e ele resolveu voltar para a sua vila, para a vila da sua avó na Índia. E eu quero saber dele agora como é que foi isso. What happened that you decided to come back to India, to your village, and to learn with your grandma?
So I started thinking that my village grandmother was more intelligent than my Harvard professors and my UNESCO colleagues, that she had a different way of being connected to the land, being connected to build community, to being connected to spirits, to just a different way of seeing the things. And so the logic of the global system, I just could not see. It was about money, money, money. And my grandmother had a very different perspective on life. She knew really, I think, the secret to happiness, really. So I was really looking for what's, personally, what is the meaning of my life, what's the way out and way forward, and also how do we get out of this larger mess that we're in. So I thought my grandmother had some seeds which would be very important for me to understand and to engage with and to co-create with. So that's my one.
A lot of people has a lot of difficulties to decide to change their life. They talk a lot, they feel a lot, they feel bad about things that they are doing, but they don't take the decision. They are afraid of change things, né? What do you want to say to these people that are always afraid and never take the decision really to move and to go for something very new?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just jump, walk out. The fear is only in our minds, and when we start actually coming out of it and connecting with other people and trusting in life, all kinds of amazing things start to happen. This has been my own experience like that. And could never imagine I would end up in Brazil in the kitchen cooking. So many different adventures, meeting indigenous leaders in Brazil, visiting amazing leaders in favelas here. So when you start to trust in life and you trust that, listen to your heart's calling. I mean, I always say this life we have is so precious. It really pains me, saddens me when I see people just wasting their lives, not happy with what they're doing. So take a risk. Life will create all kinds of interesting things. Some might be, all kinds of gifts will come. Some will be beautiful, some will be really challenging, but your life will be much more exciting and amazing and worthwhile. You'll find it meaningful. I think that's the biggest thing is if we are doing all these things and we're not finding it meaningful, then what's the point? So better to take a risk. And
one of your main questions is related to education, to reimagine education. You are really doing this. Yeah, you have your daughter, you have schools that you are new kind of schools that you are creating. Can you talk a little bit about this unlearning process, what it means, and what you are learning with this unlearning process?
Yeah. So I think one of the most important things right now for people who are working in education, interested in social change, interested in spirituality even, sustainability, is the idea of unlearning. So many of our mental models, our frames of reference, our assumptions, our beliefs have been conditioned in a certain frame of mind. And I think right now we need a lot of effort to kind of decondition ourselves, to free our minds, to open up new possibilities. It's like maybe it's like if you have a river that has been dammed. A dam is put. So one needs to put some holes in the dam to let the flow start again, for new things to start to emerge. So I think unlearning, a lot of it is again about these fears. We have so many fears which are blocking us from our deepest calling, from our deepest mission in this planet, what we've come to do. And so when we start to let go of some of those fears, start to let go of some of the desire to control everything, plan everything, start to let go of this thing of money all the time, different things will start flowing and different possibilities we can see for how we can have a much more abundant life, and really a lot of it is there's a saying, life is what happens when you stop planning. So let's trust in life, and we can see that, like I've seen with my own child, my daughter, my wife and I, before we got married, we decided she should not go to school. That's after having gone to Harvard. I said, it's a waste of time to waste all those years in school. And I've seen so many amazing people and projects, and my daughter is really beautifully grown without school, and the projects we're creating now, more and more people are the education system is in a crisis, really deep crisis. I see so many young people suffering either from being called failures or those who are called successes, so much stress and to be the best, depression. So it's really a time that we can open up to really exploring new ways and giving freedom to children, letting them do practical things in their lives, experiencing the world more, connecting with all kinds of diverse people. So it's a very, it's a very simple formula. I say with my daughter, I only want her to be around passionate people who love life. That's the best education. Just let her be meeting people who love life, who love what they're doing, and she'll catch that spirit that life is not this mundane, boring, routine kind of thing, but there's so many people who are really passionate, and once you get that energy, things start to flow.
But in the beginning, like for start to learn how to write and to read, how it works, for example, is repeat at
so,
home, how is that? Just this part because I'm curious about it.
So first thing is this is one of the things I had to unlearn, right? So learning is not linear. You don't have to do reading and writing first before you can learn other things. So some people might like to do reading and writing. My daughter wasn't interested in it. So we encouraged her, do all the things. She was interested in animals, she was interested in art, she was interested in makeup, she was interested in music. So we said, you start doing all of those things. And out of those interests, an interest will come. Oh, I want to read this. I want to know what this says. And it's very natural then process. And so my daughter actually was not interested really. She was doing so many things, and she was able to do them. Like she could run a computer, make film, without really reading very well. She had figured out how to do it all. But then when she was like 12 years old, my mother started getting really worried. She's not reading enough, this and that. So then I made a deal with my daughter, like, okay, every day, 15 minutes a day. That's all you need, 15 minutes of concentration a day. And in 3 months, she was reading very well. And so we're spending all this time on reading and writing, but it's a very simple thing. And when the children are excited about it, because they can see, now I'm going to use it for this. I want to read this book about art, actually, because I'm really interested in it. Or I want to read this cookbook because I'm really interested in getting a new recipe. The motivation comes from within. So our whole game that we're trying to play, up until now, school has been working with external motivation, reward and punishment. You do this, you get this reward. You don't do this, you get beaten and punished or humiliated. So we're saying, no, the whole game of learning is actually about intrinsic motivation. So when you find things you're excited about, the learning process happens. You don't need then a teacher even telling you, do this, because it's so contagious and so powerful that kids are learning it. And the same thing with us as an adult. It's the same thing. When we get excited, we're like, I need this, I want to get this. You start talking to your friends and you learn. There's so many things like that in life we can learn.
Okay, after to create this kind of open school, open seats of learning, you also is a co-founder of one university, Sociedade University.
Yeah.
And you are dealing with this question of diploma that you treat as a disease.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about this disease of the
and what's
society?
the cure? Yeah. So I think the diploma has done two things. One, it has created this artificial kind of hierarchy in society. So we think that the people who have diplomas are very knowledgeable, and the people who don't have diplomas are very stupid. And my grandmother, who never went to school, didn't have any diploma. I realized this piece of paper doesn't measure who you are as a human being, or what you know, or what you've experienced. And so much talent in Brazil, in India, all over the world is being lost because we're like, oh, you need this diploma. But people are quite creative. They're very committed. They're very serious about learning and doing things. But they may not have degrees. But that's a huge amount of talented people we have in our country. So we want to unleash that talent because all the time they're saying, oh, you don't have a degree, you can't do something. But we're like, no, it doesn't matter. You can do. Start. And then what we wanted to do was say the way to cure this is we started talking to companies and NGOs, and we found out, wow, the CEOs are not even happy with the guys coming from the university because those guys are coming, they do talking, and they don't know how to do things practically. They can only do PowerPoint presentations and Excel sheets, but when you tell them, go and talk to the customer, or do this or do that, they're afraid, or they don't feel like they can do it, so then you have to kind of support them in learning. So we could do the same thing with people who don't have degrees. They need a little bit of support maybe to orient them. So we have now more than 900 companies and NGOs which have agreed that they'll hire people without any degrees, diploma. They'll give them a chance and to prove themselves. So they give them 3 months or 6 months. They can go, they can start working, they can learn, and they can show that they can do the work probably better than most people who are doing jobs, because they really want to do that work. A lot of people who end up in jobs, I see them in their offices, they're on the computer playing some game or planning their next holiday. They're not even interested. They're just, for them, a job. But the people we're trying to get is like, they connect it with their life mission, their life purpose, the work. So they bring a lot more energy, enthusiasm.
Well, you are traveling all over the world, talk about your ideas and spread a vision about this. What you are really think inside of you, what's your dream about this too? There's no diploma, what you think that could be the ideal situation?
My dream is that we're really in a deep crisis on the planet. And what I've realized is that the people the experts, the scientists, the decision makers, the academics, the UNESCO, UN people, the big finance people, none of them know a way out of this mess we're in. They're talking about what's the problem, but nobody really knows. And what we're facing is a deep crisis in the limits of human rationality. And that crisis can only be resolved when we bring in different kinds of intelligences, different kinds of creativities, different kind of imaginations, different kind of relationships. And so we're saying that there has to be a redefinition. We used to think of the intellectual as the guy who's reading the book and he writes a paper or an article like this. And it's all very heady. But what I'm visioning is that the new intellectuals, the idea of intelligence and intellectualism will be something where we all start drawing from the wisdom of our bodies. It'll be embodied. It'll also draw from the rich power of each place. So we call that emplaced. Coming from the places, the nature, the communities that we're in are all alive, and they have so much wisdom and creativity to contribute. So we should draw from that. It should be inspirited. We draw from spirit, the energy of spirit, intuition. So we need a whole different kind of thinking, feeling process if we want to solve the planets on the problems on the planet. If we want to solve those, we cannot have our ethics run by Excel spreadsheets. It has to be something much more deeper and profound. So the idea of what we're trying to do is unleash that intelligence is there. It's in communities. It's in favelas. It's in the place in the forests. It's in the people, fisher people. It's all over there, that intelligence which I'm talking about. But that we need to reactivate that intelligence. And so that's the larger mission. And without that intelligence, we're finished as humanity. So we need to really open up those different modes, which Gandhi talked about. We need to have an education that activates our head, our hearts, our hands, and our sense of home. So that's what we want to create.
Well, we could talk a lot of time here, but we don't have this time, yeah? And also people can look at the videos and everything that have like a source that have the internet. But I'd like that to just like highlight your visit in Brazil with some pictures that you are going to take home.
So the first picture I'm taking home is Maracatu dancing, and I was so inspired by how much power it is there, despite the whole history of slavery and all of the pain that came with it. But it's so alive, the tradition. So that's one image I'll take away. Second image is I met several different indigenous leaders from different tribes around Brazil, and very, very powerful men. And so I take that image of those meetings and the connection I had with them. And the third image was visit to favelas and seeing the Gambiaha spirit within the favelas is alive, and there's so much richness there. So we told them that you're not poor, you actually are the richest people here. So, and if you use your richness, you can create all kinds of new projects and strengthen your communities and change the system. So that visit to the favelas was also in Mare and Rio, and then we visited two favelas in São Paulo. So it really touched me, the love that I felt all over Brazil, actually. I think the biggest thing I take is a really deep sense of love and connection, and really strong sense of India-Brazil bond, that we have a lot of things to do together.
And what the grandmothers can do for the planet?
The grandmothers can do so many things. First, to remind us that violence is not the way. Violence is not the way. That there's much more beautiful solutions we can create when we care for each other, when we're compassionate, when we show hospitality. I think for my grandmother, the first thing I learned was this tremendous culture of hospitality, care for the other. In India, I learned from grandmother, when you take a sweet, you don't put it in your own mouth. You feed the other first to show your care, that I see you, that I feel you, we're together. So I think that's one thing definitely. And the second thing is this Gambiaha spirit, that we don't need to create a big master plan. We don't need a huge budget to bring change. We have so many resources, and the best way, if you want to learn, I've been thinking, what's the best way? You go to a kitchen. Watch your grandmother's cooking. They'll start to rewire your mind, that you can see all kinds of. I met this beautiful grandmother here, Regina Shelley. So she showed how many things with vegetable peels. It reminded me of my grandmother, who also had shared a similar thing. So you start to thinking, I don't have anything, I just have these dirty peels, and they make beautiful things. So that's a really different rewiring of our way of seeing things, and our way of doing things can change dramatically from our grandmothers.
Okay, great. Namaste, oi.
Namaste, oi.
Hope to see you here again or in India.
In India.
And if you also get inspired by this interview, start to reimagine your own life and see what's possible. So many things can possible when you start to reimagine your own life.
We have a large movement of people, we call them walkouts. All kinds of people in India are walking out of their jobs, their corporate jobs. They're sick of it. They don't want to do IT. They don't want to spend their whole life sitting in front of a computer. They're walking out. We have people walking out of their universities. They don't want to waste their time just sitting and writing papers. They want to start working on real things in the world. And we have kids, families who are taking their children, walking out of schools and starting to really support their children to really flower into fruitful human beings. So we invite everyone to join this movement of walkouts. How do you say that in Portuguese?
Walkouts,
Brasileiro.
A tradução livre é chute o pau da barraca e saia por aí. Namaste, oi.
Namaste, oi.